Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we are joined by a whole bunch of people as we're in the in-between stages between two debates, so I'll raise the mic on the panel and they can keep you occupied while I set up for the next live show.
Here. We have people trying to force the other side to accept their position. That will never happen.
Yeah, this isn't a courtroom. And in a courtroom, yeah, you have to answer yes or no. These guys will never answer yes or no because they don't even want to present their case to be correct. Look, I'll take their side. I'll take the Glober side and present the evidence that the Globers are supposedly saying that the globe is Earth is a globe. They won't even present that evidence. It's like, okay, I say, hey, do you believe in NASA? Okay, do you believe in NASA?
Ivan, this is my point. Let me give you an example. Let's say that there's a murder.
I understand your point.
I didn't finish.
The other people don't understand.
I didn't finish.
Shut up for a second now.
Okay, let's just say that there's a murder case, and on a defense, he's representing the murderer, and the prosecution is prosecuting. No matter how right the prosecutor is, the defense is never going to say, "Okay, you got me." He's going to defend his case to the end. So you can't beat it into them. He's not here to concede. He's here to present his argument. You can't force someone.
Yeah, I'm not forcing. I'm asking a question now. I'll repeat the question, and it's a pretty simple question. It's a yes or no. I mean,
right.
Do you believe it? Do you believe NASA?
It's not
that's a question for you.
Right, but the thing is that once you ask...
I understand, but you're not even answering it.
All right, once you ask that question, the judge who's listening to the case understands that he's not answering. So you don't have to keep going because the judge heard it. The judge hears this.
And that's why I repeat it.
Right. But once you repeat it 4 or 5 times, the judge heard it. The judge understands that the guy is running away. See, so you don't have.
That's why I repeat it.
But at some point, you got.
I do this for a reason. I repeat it for a reason. I get excited and have them act like an idiot for a reason. That's why I do it.
Okay.
I pointed out he was incorrect from the beginning. It's a common mistake people make. However, the problem is you guys can't explain the South Celestial Pole.
Why do we need to explain the South Celestial Pole?
It can't exist. It can't exist.
Why do we need to explain it? It's your claim.
It can't exist.
You walk around asking complete strangers to explain things they never made claims for. If you're going to explain it, go ahead and explain it to us.
Oh, because the Earth is a sphere.
Oh, great. That's affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy.
No, it's not.
It's not an explanation. It's a declaration.
Great argument.
The explanation for the southern celestial pole is that any sphere that's rotating will have two poles.
With that explanation, I'm sorry. We're going to have the hypothesis and the validated experiment. We don't need your just so story. We want it scientifically validated. Because you know what the most common mistake is when applying the scientific method is to mistake the hypothesis.
You don't understand the scientific method
an explanation of a phenomenon without performing experimental tests. So, give us your hypothesis for this southern celestial pole. Is this a pole star?
This is just an observation. It's not an experiment. It's an observation.
Well, then we don't need to hear your just story about it. Or your just so story. We want scientific validation.
The observation is that there exists a southern pole of rotation.
Is it a southern pole star?
No, I didn't say star.
Oh, okay. Southern pole. So what is this? describe this pole. What is it?
It's the axis of rotation.
Axis of rotation of what?
Of the Earth.
So out there in the sky, there's an axis of the rotation of the Earth?
No, when you have a ball and it spins, there's an axis, and it will have two orientations. You know, one in one direction and one in the other, right?
Okay. Is it out in space somewhere?
Right? What are you talking
Where's
about?
your fixed reference point?
It's not a real thing.
Oh, it's not real. It's imaginary. Thanks.
Well, of course. Well,
Wow,
it's
that's
real
great.
in the sense that balls rotate, right?
Balls
So
don't
you get
rotate.
this axis of rotation. So
Balls
it's
don't
real.
rotate. I
It's
got a basketball
geometrically
right.
real.
Hold on a second. I got
It's
a basketball
geometrically
right here.
real.
That thing's not rotating. It's just sitting here.
It's geometrically real. It's not an actual physical thing.
It's real, right? So what the heck are you talking about?
Excuse me?
What the heck are you talking about? You're talking about imaginary stuff.
I'm talking about the axis of rotation. That's what I'm talking about.
You said a ball rotates. I said, no, I have a basketball right here. It's not rotating. It's just sitting here.
When a ball rotates, it will have an axis of.
Okay,
when a
so
ball
there's an
rotates,
axis out in space is what you're saying.
When a ball rotates, it will have an axis about which it is rotating.
Okay, so you're saying that this is out in space somewhere.
No, I'm not saying that.
In the south. Yeah, you are. You said South Celestial.
No, I'm not.
Where is the
That's
South
a lie.
Celestial Pole?
No, that's a lie, and you're a liar.
Where's the South Celestial Pole? How the hell am I lying? This is what you just said.
It's the axis of rotation. It's not
out in
space.
God.
It's
Round
not
and
out in
round
space.
we
So,
go.
please let me ask. Okay, in the North Pole and the South Pole, is there a fixed reference frame you could use to prove the Earth spinning underneath? In the North Pole, do you agree that Polaris is a fixed reference point?
No, it's not fixed.
Okay, is there a fixed reference point in the South Pole?
No, there's not.
So how do you know that the Earth is spinning underneath you?
It's an observation.
Yeah, how do you know with an observation?
Oh, you just take a long exposure photograph, and you can see the axis of rotation.
Where are you taking the photo? Up in the sky or on the Earth?
On the Earth.
And how would you observe that the Earth is spinning with the time lapse in 24 hours?
By opening the shutter and leaving it open, right?
Yeah, but
and
what would you observe?
Keeping the camera still.
What would you be observing to prove that the observation is a spinning Earth?
Oh, you would observe that there is rotation, right?
Yeah, how would you observe the rotation?
You're not answering his question. There's two possibilities: the Earth's rotating or the stars are rotating. How do you discern and differentiate which one is rotating?
Well, on a flat Earth, having two points of, excuse me, on a flat Earth,
not on a flat Earth.
Excuse me, on a flat Earth, having 2 points of rotation is physically impossible.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's physically impossible.
You have to demonstrate that. So let's see this.
If you assume the stars are literal physical things in specific locations.
Hold on a second. We're not into physical stuff right now. We're looking for rotations, right? So show us how it can't work on a flat Earth. We want Nathan, share her screen.
Because there's
I want to see
on a
this.
2D plane.
Demonstrate it.
You just keep interrupting me. I'll just be quiet. When you decide to talk, let me talk.
Demonstrate it. We don't want to hear no more talking. We want illustrations and demonstrations. You made a claim. Do it.
Yeah, it's fairly simple. On a 2D plane, there can only be, or a disk, there could only be one axis of there can only be one northern point of rotation about which it's rotating.
Okay,
right?
let's see it.
Oh, you can just imagine that in your mind's eye.
Oh, we're doing imagination again. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
imagination
you are
is not
unable to do.
Imagination is not evidence. Sorry. Go find a different forum.
You're a fucking clown.
What's wrong with you, Brenda?
Hey, Brenda,
Yeah,
I just
what's
pasted
wrong?
something.
If you have a disk,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just pasted something in the Hangout chat. It's a video, 15 minutes long. It's this chap that goes through talking about the rotation point very calmly, very soothing. I love his voice.
I don't see that. Where is it?
It's in the Hangout, Google Hangout chat.
I don't have that open, and I don't have it. I don't see how to open it. Let's see. Hangout.
Are you on a phone? Or are you on a computer?
Chat. It's not in the chat. That's your link to NASA, right? NASA docs.
No, it's called Flat Earth Smart by AGC. It's a video series.
I'm not going to watch a 50-minute hangout. Or
it's not 50. I think it's much shorter. It's actually
25 minutes, 20 seconds.
There you go. 25-21. And it's a part of a series. You don't have to watch the series, obviously, but all of us should watch it. I love this series. I'll watch it probably 5 times.
Evan, here's the point. If I have a basketball and it's spinning and I spin it on my finger, there are 2 points of spin, right? There's the one right on my finger. It's rotating on my finger. And then there's the other one on the other side, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's not possible on a 2-dimensional flat disk.
Are we living in a 2-dimensional world?
That's the claim.
Sorry, can I just clarify something, Eben, with Brenda? I'm sorry to interrupt. You just said, if we've got a spinning basketball, then that's not possible to be flat. That's in essence what you've just said.
No, that's not what I've said.
Yeah, you've just said, if you've got
I've said, on a flat Earth, it's not possible for us to see southern axis of rotation.
Well, you're assuming it's an axis of rotation. So are you saying that if you presuppose the Earth is the same as the basketball, then those lights in the sky mean you've got an axis?
Thank you.
There's 2 situations. One, the Earth is a flat plane, or it's a spinning globe.
No, the second one's not possible.
There would be 2 points. On a spinning globe, there would be 2 points of rotation, one in the north, one in the south. On a spinning disk, there's only one.
Sorry, this is an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy with a false dichotomy
it's
thrown
not
in.
A logical fallacy.
Why is everyone talking over me? I let you speak, did I not, Brenda? This is an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy with a false dichotomy thrown in for good measure.
No, it's not a false dichotomy.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm not making that kind of a claim.
If the Earth is a sphere, is that not a claim?
Yes.
Yeah, so you are making that claim. If the Earth is the same as the basketball, well, that's a claim, you dumbass.
Yes.
So when you just declared, I'm not making a claim, you actually absolutely are making a claim. You're making a claim that begs the question and assumes the Earth's a sphere.
You're making the claim that the Earth is flat disk.
Sorry, dickhead, I'm not doing anything. You're giving us an example here. I'm not doing anything. I'm just pulling it apart.
No, that's the flat Earth claim, is that the Earth is
No,
flat.
no, there is no flat Earth.
Hold on, Arwin. Sorry, hold on, Arwin. Don't bite on a bloody straw man. Stop it. Right, Brenda, you were in the middle of making a claim. I wasn't claiming anything. You were. Right? And I've just pointed out that you affirm the consequent. You automatically assume the Earth is the same as the basketball example. That's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. I haven't finished. That's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. If the Earth is a spinning ball, same as my basketball example, then we will see lights in the sky thus. We see lights in the sky thus, therefore the Earth is the same as my spinning basketball.
That's not what I said.
Oh, goodness gracious. Is it time to go for her? This is just a circle jerk of nonsense.
Well, no. Can I have a word in here real quick?
It's a labyrinth of incoherence.
Go
ahead.
I know, but okay. At this point, it's not time for anybody to go. It's just time to end this particular point, because both sides has made their point. Now you let the audience and the judge decide. You don't have to make the person agree. You just agree to disagree and move on. Nobody has to go.
Yeah, but this isn't agree disagree genre.
I'm sorry, wait a minute, I didn't hear you.
This isn't an agree disagree genre. It's not a subjective thing. It's objective.
No, that's not.
Something either is or isn't. A claim is either supported or it's not. Now, I agree that we should move on, but it's going to go. This is going to be the same thing over and over again. She's going to make a claim, deny that she made a claim, and then say "nuh-uh" to anything that anyone says. Rinse, repeat.
Right.
Rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. She's a clown. Right?
Right. Well, that could be the case, but the only thing that you can do is let each side present their case, and that's it. It's not a thing of agree to disagree. Just think about a courtroom. If you're defending if a defensive is defending a murderer, that he's never going to agree that his client is guilty.
I understand that. That's why I said this isn't agree disagree. Okay, we let the court, the audience. I agree with you. The court is the audience and the judge. Good. Okay, let's go to the next subject. And like I just said, she's going to make a claim. Then she's going to say it's not a claim. Then it's going to be a fallacy. Then she's going to say nuh-uh. And then we're going to go round and round again. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. That's what we're going to do. Do you want to do that, Slick?
No, the thing is, you don't go round and round. You say it once and you let it go. Then somebody else may have something to say.
Slick, he's telling you that that's what she's going to do, because that's what she's been doing for years.
Yeah, but that's her business. If that's what she wants to do, then you can let her.
Yeah, but we're the ones who have to listen to her.
Are you going to let me finish?
Wasting our time.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you going to let me finish my statement? Okay, if that's what she does, then you don't have to engage in it. Let her do it one time, and once she does it, say, okay, I made my case, you made yours, let's change the subject. It's just that simple.
Oh. Well, I wasn't allowed to complete sentences even.
Well, it's like, it's basically what troll agents do. They just like to disrupt.
Like this.
And
I wasn't allowed
pretty easily.
I wasn't even allowed to talk, so there wasn't one side. So there's two proposals on the table. One, the Earth is a sphere generally, and the other that the Earth is flat generally, not perfectly flat, not a perfect sphere. But those two are the two proposals, correct?
No, the proposal is that in a spinning ball doesn't work in a 2D model. So I mean, that's easily debunked.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you mean a 2D model? You don't have a 2D model.
Exactly.
Right. You think the Earth is flat, but you don't think it's a two-dimensional plane.
Because the Earth is not a model.
Yeah, I mean, how does a ball work in a 2D model? How do curves work in a 2D model?
What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I'm not making that claim.
I know, I'm not making that claim.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
You're saying the Earth is flat, right?
No, you're saying the Earth is round, right?
Correct.
Correct.
And you're saying the Earth is flat.
No, I'm not saying the Earth is flat. I'm saying
yes, that is.
You think the Earth's a sphere, but it doesn't work in a 2D model.
Yeah, that's just incoherent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't get why you don't understand it.
I'm not proposing a 2D model. I'm
proposing
a 3D model.
Oh, it's a 3D model? I thought you said it was a 2D model. Of course it is.
No, it's a 3D
model. 2D model, of course it is. It's a 2D model.
You see this model? I'm just going to start the live show. Can you dig it out and we'll have a look at it when we start? That'd be absolutely fantastic, Brenda, if you could do that. I'd really like to have a look at this sphere model and how it works. I understand it's absolutely perfect and correct in every detail, so hopefully we'll get to see that when the live show starts. We shall see.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. And if you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join this discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Quantum Eraser, Slick James Johnson, Paul, Flatten Earth, Eben, Chocolate Saiyan, Brenda, Arwin, and Anon Moto. Massive shout out to Colin Turner for hitting the super chat. Welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So, any evidence for the flat Earth?
Yes, there's loads. We see it on screen right now. This would be a demonstration of perspective. No curvature in these wind turbines that are going into the distance. And when you see them side profile, there's no curvature either. So these things that we see are just simply effects of perspective, things getting smaller into the distance, Brenda. As I say,
I don't see the base of those wind turbines.
You don't need to. Here you go. There's them on their side. There's absolutely no curve to them whatsoever.
Yeah, how much side-to-side curvature would you expect to see?
Some, if we lived on a sphere. Do you know how much we do see?
Would it be measurable?
How much do you think we do see? None. That's how much we see. Absolutely none.
On the globe model, how much side-to-side curvature would one expect to see within that?
Who cares? We don't live on a model. Hey, Zinda. How you doing?
Hi, everyone.
Well, the model makes predictions.
No, it doesn't.
And that's how we decide. Yes, it
it's
does.
pseudoscience. Pseudoscience predictions, like Mystic Meg predictions, I couldn't give a toss about.
You don't care about predictions?
Pseudoscience predictions. That's what I just said. I don't care about Mystic Meg predictions or pseudoscience predictions. Not interested.
What is pseudoscience, Nathan?
A non-adherence to the scientific method.
Like the globe.
Did you say no, Brenda?
So it doesn't make.
What is pseudoscience?
Okay. Doesn't make scientific predictions. It's not scientific. It makes Mystic Meg predictions.
I don't know what that means.
It means it's like looking into a crystal ball and saying, I can see money in your future. That kind of prediction. Not scientific prediction. Not empirical.
We construct a model from which we use to make from which we make predictions and conduct further experiments. And either
she just says the same thing over and over again.
Reject those predictions, right?
Right.
No,
you have
to actually scientifically prove something.
No.
Science never proves anything.
Yes, it does. It proves or disproves your hypothesis, otherwise known. Sorry, I was in the middle of a sentence, Brenda. Otherwise known as a scientific prediction. So science does prove or disprove your scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis. You are wrong. Science does prove things.
No, that's false. Science can only falsify claims. It can't.
No, it can falsify the null or alternative hypothesis. If you falsify the null, you confirm the alternative hypothesis. If you falsify... I hadn't finished. If you falsify the alternative, then you confirm... Do you know what another word for confirm is? Validate. Do you know what another word for validate is? Prove the null. So you either validate or invalidate your hypothesis. You prove or disprove it, Brenda. You are wrong.
Yeah, that's false. What you're talking about is called logical positivism, which is...
No, it's not logical positivism. It is the scientific method, an empirical method of ascertaining, or another word for ascertaining, proving the cause of an effect. Yeah. That's what.
Guys, can I jump in real quick?
It never proves anything. It falsifies premises. It doesn't prove them.
Yeah, I'll say it again. You can falsify the alternative, in which case you would validate the null. Or you can falsify the null, in which case you validate the alternative. That's why it's an empirical method. You either invalidate or validate your hypothesis. It proves or disproves your scientific prediction. I'll say it again. You are just wrong. Science does prove things.
Yeah. You are accurately relating what is called logical positivism, which is no longer...
actually, you're actually relating...
Wait a minute, hold it. Guys, I'm going to jump in here again.
It's called the falsification
Brenda,
principle.
hold on a second.
No, it's called the scientific method.
Brenda, hold on a second. Can I ask anybody to hold on a second? Just please, for me, do me a favor. Brenda is trying to explain her case, and as soon as she starts talking, 4 people start talking. At least let her say what she has to say, and then just let the conversation be one way. Her and Nathan was talking. How can she have a conversation with 4 people?
Right. So it's fairly simple. Back in the 1950s, Karl Popper introduced what's called the falsification principle because people had problems with what was up to then called logical positivism, which is the belief that science can verify and prove claims to be true. And science can't do that. It can only falsify claims.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
share
why
your
it should
screen.
be called illogical negativism, not logical positivism.
Share your screen.
We
want
you're wrong.
Support. Share your screen. Citation support, please.
Well, Brenda's wrong. She can't
well, let's just
find
see if you
anything
can
to
support
cite.
it. Let's say you support for this assertion, Brenda.
What?
You've made an assertion. Now we're asking you to support your assertion.
Oh, just look up logical positivism.
No. Let me just explain it again. Hold on, Brenda. Don't ask me to assert it or look it up. You do it.
No.
So you're just going to make an assertion and then ask us to back it up for you?
We have to even listen to you, Brenda.
Just look it up. Yeah.
If you want to assert something and you have no evidence to back it, why should we even take your evidence into consideration?
My assertion is that Karl Popper introduced what's called the falsification principle. You can simply Google that and find it on Wikipedia really easily. Look it up.
Actually, you can't. It's wrong.
Wiki Google science.
You only find
we're not here to
illogical
support your
negativism
claims.
when you look it up.
Brenda, you provide citation support and then provide an example of your claim. I got the citation. We want a demonstration and an example.
I got a citation. I don't have an example, but I just posted it in the chat. Like, a scientific hypothesis has to be testable and also has to be falsifiable. In other words, there must be a way to try to make the hypothesis fail, which means it doesn't fully prove anything.
Thanks.
Yes, that's correct. It would be called a null.
No, that's not a null hypothesis.
No, that's not what it's talking about.
Really?
The experiment.
Hold on, John. Hold on. Maybe you can tell me how it becomes an empirical method.
Well, that's the point. It doesn't fully prove anything. It is just the it leads to the point where, let's say, the hypothesis is the best way to describe something you see. But
sorry, it's not a description. It's a prediction. It's a supposition. It's not an explanation. It's a supposition, a presumption that you will validate or invalidate by way of experimentation.
Yeah, let's talk over me then. All right, sure, I wasn't.
Well, you were wrong. I do that when people are wrong, Cinder.
Talk over me. No, that's
because you're wrong. I'm not going to continue and listen to your nonsense for another 2 minutes when you're just wrong.
Oh, sure, you determine what's right and wrong because you know so much. But anyway, if we want to go that way, I better leave because otherwise I'm always getting talked over and muted and everything. So
yeah,
you're right.
Oh, my bad. Oh, let me play you a little violin, Cinder. Na 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 na. Go and walk off into the distance, Cinder. We'll all cry.
Thank you very much for showing me that you have no idea what you are talking about.
Yeah, no worries. I'll just reiterate what I'm talking about. A hypothesis, otherwise known as a scientific prediction, is empirical because it has two sides to it. One that says you're right and one that says you're not right. And you will validate one or other side of a hypothesis with experimentation. You will either prove your alternative hypothesis, in which case you have established the cause of an effect, or you will prove your null, which is to say that you got a zero difference and did not confirm the cause of an effect. That is why it is an empirical method, because it has two sides, an alternative and a null. You will validate or invalidate your scientific prediction when you perform an experiment.
Yeah, that's not the scientific method. That's not
yeah,
science.
Brenda, that's not what you think the scientific method is.
Guys, you know what? Still, I'm sitting here listening. I'm the audience, and this is just not fair. What's going on here is not being equal time allowed. And when one person speaks, somebody cuts them off. It's not. That's just not being fair. A person.
I didn't cut off Brenda. Sorry.
Hold on. I'm not even finished. A person has a right to be wrong. You can't just kind of berate them for being wrong. They get to be wrong when they're presenting their case, just like in a murder trial. The defense knows his client is guilty, but he's got to make his case. You can't just say, well, no, you're guilty. We know you killed him, and I'm not going to let you say anything. That doesn't work.
Well, we tried to let her present her case with citation support, Slick, and she said no.
I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, go ahead.
Brenda's been on less than I have, but has talked more than I have.
What does the highlighted text say?
Can't read it. It's too small. Can you read it for us? I can't. It's too small. Can you read it for us, please?
Oh, it says, contrary to popular belief, there's no such thing as scientific proof. Proof only exists in math and logic, not in science.
You're wrong.
Sorry, this is from Sorry, this is from Psychology Today. So
yeah,
these
psychology is a science, dude.
No, it's a pseudoscience. Sorry, did you not know that, Brenda? This is a pseudoscience.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. That's your explanation. Maybe, Brenda, maybe you can tell us how it is science.
Because it adheres to the scientific method.
Excellent. You give me any independent variable from a psychologist.
I'm not a psychologist, so I'm.
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask. Was my question, are you a psychologist, or was my question, give me any independent variable, otherwise known as presumed cause, that will be varied and manipulated by a researcher to cause a phenomenon? You tell me any from that particular science.
That would depend on the hypothesis, wouldn't it?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, every hypothesis would have a different assumed cause, wouldn't it?
Yeah, give me one in psychology.
Huh. I don't know any.
That's because there isn't any. It's pseudoscience, you stupid idiot.
The fact that I don't know any doesn't mean there isn't any.
No, they just can't control natural phenomena with variable causes. It's quackery.
Of course you can.
Oh, really? Tell me one.
I don't know of any.
Yeah, me neither. It's because it's not science, dickhead. Pseudoscience.
The fact that I don't.
So you can't support your argument, but you're going to babble on about it anyway. So you cannot support this argument, Brenda.
Yes, I can. Sure.
Go on then. Give me an independent variable from psychology.
Psychology is a science.
Give me an independent variable from it then.
It depends on what the hypothesis.
Not it depends. Just give me one.
I don't know of any. I'm not.
So you cannot support this argument then, can you?
Sure I can. Sure I can.
So go on then. Give me one. Give me an independent variable from psychology.
I don't know of any.
That's because there isn't any.
No, that doesn't follow.
Here we go. Round and round we go.
Okay, I tell you what. Let me ask a question because I'm listening and I'm trying. Let me see if I can clarify terms. Brenda, when you say there's an independent variable in psychology, what exactly do you mean? Are you saying that We're not talking about like physical science, and we're talking mental science. What do you mean there?
Psychology is a science. It adheres to the scientific method.
Okay, but so we're not talking physical science. You're just talking about something mental. But the thing of
science, I don't know what you mean.
No, I'm saying I think that
I could actually give him one.
On this side of the argument, they're talking about science in the physical, natural world, but you're talking about psychology. So I think that we're on two different pages, is what's happening here.
Hold on, Brenda. Got somebody qualified on the panel to answer this question. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm not necessarily qualified, but I could give you a hypothesis. There's nature versus nurture. You know, does the environment determine the makeup or the psychology of an individual? So you got, I mean, I couldn't break it down. Somebody else could probably break it down, but that's a hypothesis. Nature determines the outcome of somebody's psychology.
Well, twin experiments within psychology would represent experiments within a independent variable, dependent variable, and a control.
Yeah, that would depend on
you won't have any. You won't have any. Can I solve this, Nathan? Can you share my screen? I can go ahead and solve this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me when my screen sharing, please.
Well, it's going to be available for the audience only and not the Hangout, unfortunately. So if you're watching this in the Hangout, then you'll need to go to the watch page to actually see John's page. Okay, right, you're presented to the audience now.
All right, her claim was the science doesn't prove anything. I'm going to show you that it does, and I'm going to provide 10 examples. So my citation support from the nature of science and the scientific method. Once the hypothesis has been established, it is time to test it. The process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines. It leads to discoveries every day. An experiment is designed to prove or disprove the hypothesis. If your prediction is correct, you will not be able to reject the hypothesis. So, scientists using the scientific method have proven 1 through 10. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere of pressure. Number 2, combustion is the result of oxidation reactions. Number 3, information is only caused by intelligent agency. Number 4, the lack of insulin with type 1 diabetes patients results in ketoacidosis. Number 5, the lack of vitamin C intake in humans results in scurvy. Number 6, knowledge of the existence of the witch path information collapses the wave function. Number 7, the rapid motion and collisions of molecules with the walls of the container causes gas pressure. Number 8, magnetism is caused by the motion of electric charge. Number 9, the Coriolis force is caused by 2 differing frames of reference. 1 rotating coordinate system, that's non-inertial, and 1 non-rotating coordinate system, inertial. And number 10, gluconeogenesis results in the production of glucose from specific non-carbohydrate precursors. These are all absolutely true, proven, inviolable, never to be falsified. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wrong. Water doesn't boil always at 212 degrees. If you take water up top, it does not boil at 212 degrees.
Okay. Guys, please let her speak. I want to hear what she has to say. Please.
Yeah, he's just wrong. Water doesn't boil at 212 degrees. It does at sea level, but not, say, at 14,000 feet on a mountain.
But that's not my claim. That's not the claim. That's not the claim.
It's not absolute.
Water boils. Listen to me. You're not dealing with the claim. It's a straw man. My claim is water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level.
Oh, okay, fine.
It also boils at 212 degrees up in 14,000 feet too. It doesn't have to, but it does.
So I just provided citation support showing that experiment proves or disproves hypotheses. I've given 10 examples where the scientific method has validated or confirmed, in other words, proved the cause. Thank you.
What's your source? What's your source?
What's the source?
What's the source of what?
Your claim.
Well, she's asking what's the source of what you're just saying. Where'd you get
all
this
these
from?
claims right here?
Yeah, what's your source?
The source is me.
No, the source, you claimed that science is proof. What was your source for that? You read something.
Right here. Christine McClellan, The Nature of Science and the Scientific Method.
Who is she? Do you have a link?
The Nature of Science and the Scientific Method from the Geological Society of America, and I'll show you the part where it says that, where I pulled it from. Can you all see this?
The audience can.
No.
You'll have to go to the watch page, unfortunately.
Right there.
Okie dokie.
Thank you very much.
So science can prove things. And how does it prove things?
By systematic experimentation based on hypothesis.
Right. So we can prove that the Earth is a sphere, right?
You tell me.
Yes. How would we do that?
You tell me.
Oh, by hypothesis and experimentation, right?
If you wanted to use the scientific method,
your independent variable.
If you want to, then you can attempt to.
We're ready.
Oh, sure.
Natural phenomena observed, please. Here we go.
Yeah.
We still sharing?
Sunsets.
Okay.
Sunsets are only possible. Sunsets are only possible on a.
Hold on a second. We don't need no declarations. We're going through the scientific method.
Let me just fill everyone what's going on. Because Google Hangouts won't let me share Skype for some reason, unfortunately, if you want to pay attention to what's actually being presented to the audience, you have to be in the audience as well. So if you're on the panel, you have to go to the watch page, but make sure you mute it. Okay, so natural phenomena observed. Step 1. Wonderful. We've got a phenomenon. Sunsets. Okie dokie.
All right, sunsets, and that's your dependent. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We need the alternative hypothesis.
Well, sunsets is just a word. So the phenomenon observed would be sunsets.
Yeah, we got that. Yeah, we got that.
Right. So the hypothesis, not the alternative hypothesis, but the hypothesis.
No, that's the alternative hypothesis. You're going to have two, alternative and the null. Give me the alternative hypothesis.
Where's the hypothesis, though?
Yeah,
right
the
here.
Alternative hypothesis is your hypothesis.
No.
Let Brenda go for a whole 2 minutes. Let her explain the entire experiment.
I think the problem is Eben is if she doesn't understand how to formulate a hypothesis, that's fine. I can just explain it to her. That's fine. We have gone through this with you disagreeing with us quite emphatically, Brenda. The reason it proves or disproves things is because you have two sides to the hypothesis. One is your supposition, which is to say your presumed cause of the effect. The other is your zero difference result, your null, which will be basically the same as your alternative, other than to declare that what you presumed will cause the effect causes nothing, zero difference.
Yeah, but most natural phenomena are not true dichotomies.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. My kid was making a lot of noise. Can you just repeat that, please?
Most natural phenomena are not true dichotomies.
No.
Therefore,
we're not talking about dichotomies. We're talking about a natural phenomena, which you will go on to presume a cause of. That's it. That's all we're doing at this stage. So
okay,
far
she's having hold on a second. She's having a problem, Nathan. She said she didn't know what the hypothesis. She was getting confused between a hypothesis and a null. So listen up, California State University. To do a hypothesis test experiment, you will actually have two hypotheses, the null and the alternative hypothesis. You see this right here? Does that solve it for you? So let's go back. We're going to ask you again. We have the natural phenomena observed. You gave us sunsets. We need the alternative hypothesis. See the alternative here and the null down here? See, we're going to get to null here in a few minutes, but we want the alternative first.
That sunsets are caused by the rotation of the Earth.
Actually, one scientific experiment actually negates that, because there's a phenomenon called sunrise, and that phenomenon is caused by no spinning globe model.
Thank you. What's the independent variable?
You actually, what
Right.
you just said didn't make any sense, Brenda.
Right, but she's got to get a chance to go ahead, because her and John are doing this, and I'm trying to.
Why do you
guys,
keep doing this to me,
guys,
James?
let's just get this back
Again,
under control.
Brenda
Sorry.
has been on less than I have, but has spoken more than I have.
Hold on.
Every time I interject when there's a pause in whatever is being said, I get butted into, just like Brenda's doing to me. But I wait for the opening.
Goodbye.
But every time I wait for the opening, no one lets me speak. They go, hey, why don't you just let Brenda speak? We let Brenda speak all the time.
The thing is,
but then
now
whenever there's a pause and I want to speak,
Brenda left.
Someone says, hey, why don't you just let Brenda speak?
You got
I
all
was
the
like, I'm
chances.
letting Brenda speak.
You got all the chance in the world now.
Yeah, but now Brenda's not here. I like to speak when there's a pause. But every time I do that, it's like, let Brenda speak. Brenda spoke.
But the
Brenda had
problem
a
is,
pause. I
but this is-
speak. Now,
this is-
now I'm being interrupted saying, hey, why don't you let Brenda speak?
Because the problem is, her and John were in a conversation. You can't jump in their conversation, because now you got her having a conversation with two people. That's difficult.
I know it's difficult, but Brenda does it. Whenever someone speaks, she goes, oh, he's wrong. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, it's inaccurate. Oh, you're doing something like this. He does. She does it every time anyone speaks.
That's not the problem.
So what
sir.
I do is the same
That's
thing
not
that
the
she
problem,
does.
sir. We already know what she does. Slick's point
exactly.
was you interrupted the discussion.
I'm not interrupting the discussion. I'm
You
entering
did.
the discussion within a pause.
You interrupted the discussion between us. That's what Slick's point is.
And that's
already
what Brenda,
know what
does.
Brenda does.
But now you guys are going after
So why
me
are you
for
going
doing
to her
exactly what Brenda
level?
does.
Don't go to her level.
Oh my God!
I'm going to her level, but you guys
You
don't
shouldn't.
understand
You
the reason
shouldn't.
for it. Do you
Don't
guys
do it.
understand the reason I do it? Because Brenda does the same thing, but I get hit on by you guys for doing what Brenda does. But you guys don't really hit on Brenda and saying, hey, let Ebon speak.
Oh, we
You
damn
understand
well
that?
hit on her. Haven't you paid attention?
Yeah, but you guys
This has
don't
been
interrupt
going on
her.
for a long time.
Okay,
You guys
okay.
don't
Can we all
interrupt her when I
stop?
do the same
Okay,
thing to
can
her that she does to you. Do you understand that?
we all stop hitting on Brenda and get on with the hypothesis. So we've got all we need. So we've got her alternative hypothesis. Sunsets are caused by the rotation of the Earth. So ipso facto, we've got her her independent variable ready, John.
Yeah, we do. Let me get the null.
So fortunately, you've dodged the bullet, Eben. It didn't matter. We got what we needed from her before she dropped. She's given us her independent variable. Her independent variable is the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, I understand that. I like to troll the trolls, but what's funny is you guys are saying, hey, stop doing what the troll is doing because we want to hear the troll speak and interrupt everyone else. And yeah, I get it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. We got it. Now, let's go over what you gave us. Natural phenomena observed. Sunsets, her alternative hypothesis for sunsets are caused by the rotation of the Earth. So her independent variable, that is the cause, and that which she has to vary and manipulate to confirm the dependent variable is rotation of the Earth. I didn't do the non sequitur tautology test because this is a train wreck. To be a valid independent variable, it must be the cause. You must be able to vary and manipulate it, and it must demonstrably exist. So she can't vary and manipulate this, and she has not confirmed that it demonstrably exists. This is a train wreck. It's an affirming the consequent formological fallacy. Thank you.
And,
That's where we started.
And the thing is, she would have ran into that had she had the chance. She would have found out she was going to hit a brick wall.
Hey, Apollo.
No, she already found out.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. Hold on, we've got a new guest. Hey, Apollo, how you doing?
Hey, running through some new stuff, but unfortunately, not very good results so far. But
well, thank you. We'll get to you here in a minute. She knew that she hit a brick wall. That's why she dropped. As soon as she hit the brick wall immediately. She didn't know what an alternative hypothesis was, which isn't surprising. She didn't know that science proved things. Everything she says is from 2015 that has been pummeled over and over and over again. It's just a circle jerk with a labyrinth of incoherence from Dunning-Kruger pretender clowns. Thank you.
Right. And the thing is, I get it. It's just that I thought that I'm just pretending that I'm in the audience and I'm listening. I just wanted to hear what she had to say so that you can draw a conclusion. The only point that I'm trying to make is when a person is in a conversation, they can't talk to 2 or 3 people. I know this very well because whenever somebody's trying to talk to me and somebody else throws something in, now I forgot what the other person said. So now I'm confused, and now all of a sudden I seem stupid because I'm trying to divide my mind between 3 people. It's an impossible thing to do.
You're
that's
correct,
what Brenda does.
I agree with you.
It doesn't matter whoever's having a conversation. A troll like Brenda would say, that's wrong. And then she gets the floor. The conversation's ended. And it derails everything that's been going on. And that's the way that they do things. And I just tried to troll the troll, which is pretty simple. And she can't go anywhere else. I just act the same way that she acts. And she gets frustrated, and that's why she left.
Right, but only thing that does is
lower yourself to her level, man.
Okay, we already went over this. We don't need to hear it 5 or 6 times. Let's go to Tommy's claim before he left. He said that the stars, when I asked him, so the stars, the sun, moon, and stars rotate east to west in the north and west to east in the south. That's what he said. Of course, that's friggin' demonstrably inane. He should be institutionalized, but let's go with the citation here. From NASA, the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars all rise in the east and set in the west. From the astronomy department at the University of Nebraska, for an observer on the Earth, objects move from east to west. This is true for both northern and southern hemispheres. From the path of the stars. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
We just quoted NASA?
Yeah. NASA can still be cited.
Yes, it's a hostile witness. The best of all worlds.
Actually, I was going to say something. He did say something earlier. I'm actually in a quieter place now that I can actually interject a little bit. He did make a statement that the stars rotate clockwise in in the northern or whatever, and then the opposite in the south. So he did make that statement. So that kind of got brushed over, but he did make that statement,
No,
which
it didn't
I think
get
would
brushed
be
over. I
observably
corrected
true.
him and said clockwise and counterclockwise are not directions.
Indeed. Apollo, I'm looking at your hi-fi Nirvana that you've got. I'm as proud as you are. Looks nice. Can't hear me because he's not got his headphones on.
Are those erased NASA tapes? I mean,
no. He's
hopefully you don't it's an audio record over the NASA moon landings, the original footage.
Well, these tapes I got today. Wait, let me get a.
Last time Apollo was on, he said he was looking for a reel-to-reel, and I assume he's found one, and that's it.
Nathan, are we done going over this before we get into the NASA chicanery?
Well, maybe. I was kind of hoping to ask a couple of flat Earth related questions, although Apollo knows how to distract me really well. Just by sticking a bit of hi-fi in front of me. So that's what he's done, and now I'm completely distracted. But yeah, Apollo.
I was going to ask Tommy. Oops, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Can we have your attention for a couple of minutes, though, Apollo, if it's possible? Maybe not.
Well, real quick, while he's getting himself out. So one thing is I was going to ask Tommy, which I couldn't earlier. how does the atmosphere velcro itself to the surface of the Earth? I was going to ask him that question because he was going to try to figure out, that the atmosphere would hold the helicopter in position. What he would say.
That's
how does it do that?
preposterous. Listen, this is 2015, second grade arguments. Everyone that listen, the atmosphere is made of gases. Gases have no intermolecular bonds. They are not spinning with the Earth. An easy test: east, north, and south surface winds and clouds going different directions at different elevations. Listen, this is second grade stuff, gentlemen. Why are we talking about this? I need some cowbell. Give me some cowbell.
I'll answer you. I know it's rhetorical, but I don't care. So the answer is because most people don't understand the Coriolis effect. That's why.
We're stuck in the hedgerows of 2015. We're battling out in the hedgerows. We need to do some broken field running. Let's advance this discussion, people.
The Coriolis effect is dependent upon the Earth spinning, correct?
Yeah.
So let's observe the Earth spinning, and if the Earth doesn't spin, then the Coriolis effect is debunked pretty easily.
Well, yes and no. I would assert it slightly differently. I would assert that the reason there is so much confusion and obfuscation surrounding the subject of Coriolis effect is because it works in our favour, the flat earthers' favour. The assertion that there would be a Coriolis effect is correct, and they know it. That's why they assert they've got one, but they don't. So they put it into the arena of mainstream with doublespeak, so that people are left completely confused about what Coriolis effect actually is. Most people think it's something to do with weather formations and actual deflections occurring with clouds or storms, as opposed to the simplistic explanation of what it really is, two separate reference frames, which we definitely don't have. So that's why there's so much confusion around the subject. It's actually a very useful thing to understand if you're a flat earther and you want to debunk the notion that we are spinning, because the examples given to assert that we're spinning use two separate reference frames to assert it. And we all know what happens when you have two separate reference frames. Your helicopter takes off. I mean, I've not had such a... Tommy gave probably the best and most concise explanation with his first opening gambit for how we don't have Coriolis and how Coriolis is useful to debunk the notion that the Earth is spinning. He summed it up beautifully because logically he knows that there isn't one. He knows the Earth's not turning underneath the second reference frame of the atmosphere. It just isn't. He knows it. We all know it. But they assert there is one. Well, why? Because if we understood the concept of the Coriolis effect, we'd all be using it to debunk the notion that we're spinning. So they've got to wrap it in confusion.
I agree.
Hey Nathan, am I still sharing?
No, but you can be.
Let's go over one topic real quick. Does anyone have anything else on that? I took her train wreck hypothesis off.
No, you good.
Yeah, I want to go over this this issue with the ballers and their parrot that science only disproves or falsifies things, right? Let's go over this again. I did it in the scientific presentation the other day, but this is really important. Let's go over it. Be real quick. So, let's observe a natural phenomenon. Healthy type 1 diabetics suffer from diabetic ketoacidosis, apparently from the absence of adequate insulin. So, the alternative hypothesis would be, given otherwise healthy type 1 diabetes patients, the lack of insulin will lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. The null is the mirror image of it. However, the only difference is the cause, presumed cause, will not lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. So, the null. Given otherwise healthy type 1 diabetes patients, the lack of insulin will not lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. So, do you see that proving the alternative hypothesis that the lack of insulin will lead to diabetic ketoacidosis ipso facto falsifies and rejects this null hypothesis. Does everyone see that? Because if it does lead to diabetic ketoacidosis, then it ipso facto rejects or falsifies the will not part. Now, if we did this experiment and this one, alternative hypothesis, failed to validate, confirm, or prove that the lack of insulin leads to diabetic ketoacidosis, then this stands. It's the default. Does everyone understand that? Any questions?
Yeah, this is what lends its empirical nature and adequately demonstrates how it does prove things. And you've said it more succinctly. If it doesn't prove things, why the hell would we bother doing it?
Yeah. Another thing that Brenda said, like when you were mentioning that boiling temperatures of water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and Brenda said, no, it doesn't boil at 14,000 feet. That's not true, because it still boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at 14,000 feet elevation, but the boiling point doesn't have to be 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil. It's like 185.
Yeah,
something.
that's a little squirrely right there. What she did was, listen, like I said, look at the hypothesis that was confirmed. She changed the parameters of the hypothesis. What did I say? Water boils at 212 degrees at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere of pressure. That's 101.325 kilopascals or 14.7 psi. So what she did, she immediately changed the condition and said, nuh-uh. So it's non sequitur.
Now, see, and me as being a listener, I hear something like that. And seeing the first thing I'm going to say to myself is, uh-oh, she's off. I can't even say that word, obfuscating. But I can tell that, and the audience can tell it too. So the only point that I'm making is when a person starts doing that, there's no point in jumping all over them because everybody got the point. When a person is running scared, you don't have to really just pounce on them because everybody can pick up on what's going on. That's all I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is if nobody pounces on him, then what if the audience doesn't understand that there's a different boiling point for temperature, for boiling point for water at different elevations?
Because the thing is, the audience has to understand. Think about it like this, and I'll use my courtroom example again. Imagine you have a defense, but the prosecutor is both prosecutor and judge. Now imagine that scenario. That wouldn't work out too well, would it?
Well, that would be like, who's that? I am the law.
But that wouldn't work too well, would it?
No.
Okay, so that's
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, so that's the only point that I'm making, because that's what happens. When you're in a debate with a person, if you're playing the prosecutor and the judge, well, then all of a sudden it's an unfair advantage. And just because they do it doesn't mean that we do it back, because all we get is when we're on their floor, they're the judge and the prosecutor. When we're on our floor, we're the judge and the prosecutor. What has to happen is when two people have a conversation, there has to be a third party that mediates so that the person isn't his own judge. You can't play two positions at the same time.
I was mediating. Brenda made an incorrect statement, so I said, look, 212 degrees at 14,000 feet of elevation, it still boils. I mean, I have to correct a mistake.
Yeah,
Brenda's
but we're
saying,
looking for boiling point. It'll boil everything after the 212. Yeah, we got
exactly.
that. So
everything after the boiling point of like 185 degrees.
That's a little squirrely because we're saying boiling point, not boiling. Boiling point. Big difference.
Yeah, I know. But he's saying that it doesn't boil at 14,000 feet at 212 degrees. It does.
It's still squirrely. You know what I'm talking
and see,
about.
Right now, guys, right there, that's a good discussion. That's something that you can hash out. You know, that can go back and forth in a nice, organized manner. Does it? I mean, that's a good question. What are you saying, Ivan? Does it actually boil at, what is the temperature it boils at a level?
At 14,000 feet, it boils at around 185 degrees Fahrenheit. No matter what, it'll still boil at higher temperatures. But Brenda's saying because it's a different elevation, it won't boil at 212 degrees. So I need to correct that, saying it does still boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, but
and like I said,
That sounds
there's a
squirrely.
difference here. What? Wait a second, Slick. There's a difference here. Of course, water's going to boil. We're not talking. Listen to these two words: boiling point. The emphasis is on the point part, not boiling. You got me.
I get that. I get that.
Okay.
Because what Ebon is saying is now you got variable boiling points, but that's not the quotation. The quotation is that at sea level, it's 212. Now maybe at a higher level, there's a point, but that point might be 185. So I get that.
Yeah, it's 185, but Brenda was saying it doesn't boil at 212 degrees.
Oh my God, we're not going to go over this.
But that's false.
Yeah, but I see John's point on this.
Who's making all that noise?
I kind of understand John's point on that one.
Okay, so Nathan, you still sharing this? Are we done with this? I'll go ahead and clean this up. I mean, this is a train wreck. Did you want to go over this?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Hey, Tarquin, can you hear us? Hello? Sorry, John.
Hey.
Yeah, like I said, I still have the train wreck hypothesis or the scientific method up. Do you want to go over this one quick time, or?
No, I mean, happy to summarize that you can't vary and manipulate the independent variable of rotation of Earth.
Right, so this is a train wreck. So are we done with this?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and clean this up and stop screen sharing. Thank you.
No worries.
When we were talking psychology earlier, while it's not exactly psychology, the nature versus nurture, what's utilized a lot are twin studies, because identical twins share pretty much exactly 100% their genetic traits and whatnot. Now, what's great about that is if you do something like testing vaccines, you've got one vaccine you're given to a twin, and you've got another twin that doesn't get that vaccine, and you expose them to what the vaccine is supposedly supposed to prevent, and see if the vaccine works or not. And that's better than just taking 1,000 random people and seeing whether or not the vaccine works with those 1,000 random people, because there's variability in genetic traits. Someone could be just more naturally immune to some type of disease out there.
Yes, that's true. That's not the point, though. The point is psychology an actual science? Can it follow the scientific method? That was the question. And it's a resounding no. Why is it a no?
Oh, that's what that's the point I was, hold on a second.
Yeah, it's a resounding no. It can't follow the scientific method.
And that's because it's not, John, that's because it's not in the physical and natural world, correct?
It is. It is. However, you won't be able to isolate, independent variables. It would be almost impossible. I'd like to see a psychologist come on here and show us, with our steps, natural phenomena, alternative hypothesis. They won't be able to do this. They won't be able to go through the method.
The way I was thinking about it, if you guys can hear me, is that's why I said nature versus nurture. I was going to use that. I was kind of trying to say it real quickly. You could do that, but it would be unethical, because to show that whether the nature has a factor in the development of a child, you would have to eliminate any kind of natural environment for the child, which would be unethical. So you couldn't do that.
Yeah,
so
there's too many.
You could do it.
Hold on.
There'd be too many confounding variables. You couldn't
right.
You couldn't get a hold of it. Right.
Right. And see, I had to do a paper when I was in college a long time ago on feral children. Have you ever heard that term? You know what feral children are?
Yes. I had to take psychology too. Yeah.
So okay, yeah. And I thought that was just going through that process, just thinking about, like the children that were literally raised by wolves, and it's happened, or raised in an environment where there's no social interaction, and what that did to the child, and it did stunt their growth, You know, that shows a sense that the environment has a factor in childhood development. Now,
sorry to
yeah, you're right. It
Paul.
can't. Go ahead.
Sorry. Shout out to Audrey Girly Girl for the super chat. Says invite link to Science versus Pseudoscience Discord. It's not my server, it's Betty's, so I don't fully understand how that works, but I will look into it for you, and if I can, I'll post one in the info box.
Yeah, what's her problem? She can't get into it.
She wants an invite link.
Hey, needs an invite link.
Would that be social science? I'm sorry. I was going to say, would that be social science? Because that's different than the physical natural world. That's social science. Am I correct?
Yeah, in a way, you're on the right lines. But it's already been summed up, and I want to reiterate it. That's why I asked Brenda for her independent variable when I was like, give me the independent variable for psychology. Well, independent soul, independent cause of an effect. Well, if you're talking about neural pathways and the influences of nature, is that something that you can isolate as an independent variable? Absolutely not. The nature versus nurture, would you class nature as an independent variable that you can vary and manipulate? Well, no, most definitely and assuredly not. You can't isolate the sole cause of an effect in that particular discipline. You're never going to. You can allude to it, you can do group studies, you can do all sorts of different things that gives you a correlation. Sound familiar? But that's as good as you're going to get.
And you know, too, on top of that, now, see, when she resorted to that, that was her showing that she was on the ropes. See, that's when you get punched and your knees start to wobble under you. That's when you're trying to find some kind of way to get ground. So you just do anything you can to buy time. And that's what it sounds like she was doing, because she was totally moving away from the point.
Nathan, I dropped the Discord link in the Skype chat. So if you can grab it and post that, that'll be good. Sorry to interrupt.
Now, there are things that psychology can look into that does occur, and there are phenomenons. But as far as putting them into an empirical evidence for, it's not necessarily always the case. It's more of like most likely than not. For example, hypnotism. Hypnotism is a phenomenon that actually occurs, can be tested on individuals, and they do follow the hypnotic suggestions, and it's observable, it's testable, it's variable. Certain things you can do with hypnotism, certain things you can't. And I've done it. So it's something that you can run scientific method tests for it at the individual level, but at the certain people aren't hypnotizable, or they're less susceptible and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, you know what question I was going to say, go ahead. I was going to say one question I would have for that is like what John was saying. Can you put that in a hypothesis? In other words, can you have an observed, what would be the observed phenomenon in that case?
So I would go through the hypnosis suggestions method, right? With 10 people, and see if anyone, how many of those people are susceptible to hypnosis. And so, okay, let's say 6 out of the 10 people are hypnotized. Okay, for the ones who are hypnotizable, if I do different types of suggestions, which one will actually accept those hypnotic suggestions and do that when they are at their post-hypnotic state?
Well, could you repeat that?
And you would repeat that by doing the same experiment with the same 10 people. The same, someone else could be the hypnotist and say the exact same words, same exact suggestions, and see however many people become hypnotized. See however many people who are hypnotized do the same hypnotic suggestions after their post-hypnotic situation.
Interesting.
Well, see, I think I was thinking about that because I've done a lot of study on vaccines. I don't like bringing it up here very much, but it's something I do know a lot about. And I think, like to say, like empirically to say whether Lily is going to be injured from a vaccine, there's too many variables to determine that. I can't say that empirically, and neither can a doctor, because she may come out one end of it perfectly fine, the other end not come out. And it really comes down to statistics. Really, you're looking at what are the odds of something happening. And I think even your hypnosis scenario there is only a statistical probability. You know, will this person be hypnotized or not? So really, it can't be necessarily empirical, because you can't determine, well, if I sat down and get hypnotized, can you prove that or not? Well, the only way to do it is to try it and see if I do. If I don't, then, you know, is hypnosis, you know, something scientifically viable? I think it starts to fall apart.
Well, yeah, you know what?
Am I thinking correct on that?
I was going to say that you. No, I was going to say that you wouldn't be able to write that down like you could saying that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level. That's not something that you could write down that any time I do hypnosis that this particular wave of the wand is going to cause this effect, because that would vary every single time. Am I correct? Does that sound right?
Well, the thing is, you're looking for the variables in certain aspects. Is okay, after you observe the first phenomena of trying to get people under hypnosis, it's like you got two different questions. Why are those 6 people susceptible to hypnosis? And then the other question is, why are those 4 other people not susceptible to hypnosis or susceptible to hypnosis? And so you can go at different rates. And then within those 6 people that were under hypnosis, you can go through all the variable types of hypnotic suggestions and which ones actually adhere to those suggestions and which ones don't. And then you further differentiate, okay, now why do these people are they susceptible to every suggestion that we've put them under? And then maybe there's 1 or 2 people that don't. And then you could just you keep questioning, you keep looking into the variables and why those variables exist. And you can repeat the same thing. And it's like, why after 100 hypnotic tests using different hypnotists, but the same script and the same thing is like, why these 4 never become susceptible? And then you go into trying to figure out why. Maybe, and twin studies could be a thing to use. Instead of having 10 random people, you use people who are genetically similar 100%, see if it's the same thing, you know, after 100 hypnotic tests. Is maybe one twin isn't hypnotizable at all. That doesn't make sense.
I think this is all a red herring. We're going down the...
No, yeah, that's how I'm trying to explain the scientific method where the evidence isn't empirical. They're looking into the variables that continue to exist after repeated tests.
But the thing is, every time you change 100 people, you could get different results, though.
Yeah, that's why you try to keep it as controlled as you can using the same 100 people with the different variables.
Okay, can
you try to create a control?
Sorry to interrupt. Just want to wrap it up before we get to the end of the live show. So, what you're going to get at the end of this study is a statistical likelihood of something. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. So you are definitely not establishing the cause.
Correct.
Well, if it was science, you'd be establishing the cause of an effect, as opposed to drawing a correlation based on a statistical likelihood. That's
well,
not
it's
science.
Trying to find that cause by looking at the correlations. So
I don't dispute that there is potentially some validity, and you can attribute numbers to how statistically likely it is. But that still does not give you a cause.
Correct.
Right, but that's what science is interested in.
Yeah, I know. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying
but that's why I'm correcting you, because you're saying I'm showing how the scientific method can be used to draw a correlation, give you a statistical likelihood. Well, no. That's the problem we're encountering, isn't it, Eben? That people assert that they've got the scientific method and then they draw a correlation or a statistical likelihood, but they assert that they've established the cause of hypnotism at the end. I'm not saying you're doing that, but that's the problem.
It's difficult because it is a very broad. I mean, there's just so much variables. It's trying to get those variables to pinpoint a potential cause where they can actually say 100% this variable causes this. But that's their goal. But you can't do that without first trying to minimize all the variables within the environment.
Yes, well, that's very well put. As in the scientific method, you are looking for the independent variable, the sole cause of an effect. So with that, I will say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live audience for tuning in, smashing the super chat, and hopefully sharing this live debate. Be sure to share if you haven't done already. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this live debate possible. If you're watching on the Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Into autism. So there could be some kind of environmental problem, but they're also somehow vaccines are aggravating that potential, you know? So it's like that's showing that there's something going on. Now we've got to nail down what that is. And I think the scientific method would start eliminating each possibility. You know, does that make sense? But that's, anyway, I think that's kind of what everybody's trying to say in a different kind of vein.
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, for example, here's this scenario. If you're a programmer, how do you program randomness?
Algorithms.
Yeah, but what's the algorithm that would
microphone noise?
Make sure it's
okay. It's very, very, very difficult to get a computer to give you a random number.
Yeah, and then another part is, how would you test it that it is 100% random?
It won't be, because you'll have to have some sort of formulation in order to establish that quoted or quote-unquote random number, which it won't be.
Yeah, random is kind of conceptual, really.
Well, they actually really call it a pseudo-random number generator.
Nick, his point. Hold on. There was a point to that. What was your point, Eben?
Well, creating something that's random, that's as random as you can get, and then trying to test that randomness, there has to be a statistical accounting for it. So, but the thing is, even if you take that statistical accounting for it, is how do you attribute that it is random? Because randomness could be, hey, out of 1,000 times, it came up number 5. I mean, that doesn't appear random. So let's move it up to 1,000,000 times. And then you look at, you just keep going higher and higher and higher. And you look at the averages and see, okay, it seems to be.
Yep.
I mean, how do you determine randomness? Is it the number of iterations?
Not through statistics. When you bring super amounts of masses, then you are dealing with statistics, which are another approach. So,
yep. And so it's just
random is conceptual.
Like, when you get those results, when are you happy with it? When you say, okay, it goes to 1,000,000 iterations, we've got at the most number 5 appearing a certain percentage to the lowest number, and then let's just run it 1,000,000 times again, and then is it the same result? And let's do it 1,000,000 times again. Is it the same result? And it's just, when are you happy with it, and when are you not happy with it? When do you change the algorithm for randomness? And you know, it's just repeatable. You repeat those same number of tests, but if you see a discrepancy or you see something that just doesn't seem, that just seems amiss, like, why is that number always popping up higher percentage no matter how many iterations of 1,000,000 times that we run it? And then you pretty much say, okay, for some reason it's more biased towards that number. It's not perfectly random, but it could be perfectly random, right?
But you know, now from what I'm hearing, though, that could never get down to something like water boiling at 2. You know, in other words, you could never narrow it down to something that's that precise. So it seems like it would be outside. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of actual science. We can pinpoint things. But the thing is, there are certain sciences, it's trying to figure things out. And
that's not science.
Like,
statistics isn't science. We're looking for cause and effect. This discussion is going on and on about two different things.
Look,
so
I understand that, but
statistics deals with correlation. Correlation doesn't equal causation. Science deals with causation. End of story. Thank you.
Okay, I understand that, but how would you approach something such as statistics, such as psychology? Would you approach it as, oh, let's just take it philosophically? I'm saying this and do it logically, or would you try to use something that does have empirical evidence for it,
It
when
doesn't
you're
have an
using a
empirical
scientific
evidence.
method?
I treat it.
And so, would you rather have someone? Let me.
I'll
finish.
answer your
Would you rather-
question. I'll treat it as
Let me just
pseudoscience.
finish one
That's
little
what it is.
sentence.
Thank you.
Would you rather have someone pursue statistics or psychology using the scientific method as much as possible, or would you rather have
Can't do
them
it.
go through it using just religious
Can't
beliefs?
do it. It's not science. It's not the scientific method. You can't
Yeah,
do it.
I know
Thank you.
that, but would you rather have
Can
someone
I
go
answer?
through the principles of? Go ahead.
Okay, now I was just going to say, can I answer? My answer would be any way but unscientifically. My answer would be, the question is, you can approach these things as long as you're not doing it and calling it science. It's just unscientific.
You're basically trying to apply the scientific method to it as close as possible because it just makes the most logical sense.
But the
Close
thing
is good in horseshoes and hand grenades, but it's not in science. It either is or it isn't science. Period. End of story. Thank you.
No, there's a logical approach to things, and that's how science tries to approach it, and that's why we like science.
It's
now,
not
it's the same
science
thing with
for the 10th time.
And I'm saying it is. It's trying to apply the scientific method as much as possible because there's a
Can't
logical
apply
pattern to
the
it.
scientific method to it because it's not science.
Scientific method is not a spirit.
know how
It's
many
not
times I have to
sentient.
agree
It
with
is a
you.
method.
Hold on, before everybody gets excited, calm down.
In software testing, there's no schooling for it. There's no way to actually have the perfect method for testing software. But there are different methodologies used. A lot of people use different methodologies. You can't test everything.
Computer science is not science. It's not natural science. We're trying to discover the nature of our reality. We're talking about natural science. Okay. So
I
go ahead and talk all over
understand
me
that,
now.
but I'm trying
done
to
talking.
have you understand that the approach to methodologies is utilizing as much scientific principles as possible. Do you understand that? It's not saying, hey, I'm going to test this and I'm going to test randomly because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I use a scientific logical approach. I mean, that's not a good way to test software. Just test
I
understand
understand that point.
Well, let me ask the question. Can cause and effect be determined in other areas of understanding, like in electronics? Can cause and effect be used to determine something in electronics?
Yes.
John, do you agree?
Yeah.
John?
What's your point?
Okay. So, well, I mean, so cause and effect, like I would say, cause and effect can also be applied to psychology.
It cannot.
Environmental.
Listen to what I'm telling you.
Hang on.
Cause and effect. No, you hang on. The effect is your natural phenomena observed. Is electronics natural? The defense or the prosecution rests. Have a nice day.
Yeah, but you can still test electronics in a logical way. And
I think I understand what you're saying. Even what you're saying is, even though that you can't use science, you can at least try as much as you can to go in that direction. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And that's reasonable.
Nobody said it's unreasonable. That's not the question. It's not natural science.
And I'm not saying
let me ask the question. Let's go back to psychology for a second. Let me go back to science. If I see a child raised by wolves, and there's a natural phenomenon. They come out and they're acting like wolves. Would that be a natural phenomenon? I'm asking the question. Is that the natural world?
John, you still there?
I would potentially give you that as a phenomenon.
I'm still here, but I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm doing something else right now. I've already answered this question. If you can't get it, maybe Nathan can help you out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here, but I gotta go have dinner. So
yeah.
See you guys.
All I'm saying is, you're saying it's not natural science, and I agree with you. So what's your point? I'm trying to explain my point, saying we're trying to apply scientific principles to things that aren't natural. And it's a better methodology as opposed to saying, hey, this should do this because this religious text says that's what something should do. Like, it doesn't make sense to apply a methodology that's illogical. Now, what's logical is the scientific principles and the methodologies used, and you can apply that to unnatural things, and it still works, but that doesn't mean it's science. It's just logical.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Well, that's kind of what was my point. I mean, I understand we're specifically talking in this typically about natural science, but I think the actual method of cause and effect can be applied to other arenas of understanding, and that was my point. And I think that's what Ebon's point is. And to dismiss that, I think, is actually weakening our position, not strengthening our position.
Who's dismissing it? I'm not dismissing it. Straw man.
Well, you didn't even, you dismissed the fact that I was trying to make a point. You said you weren't going to deal with it. So in that sense, you did dismiss it. That wasn't a straw man. You dismissed my point.
Friggin' straw
You said,
man.
I'm not dealing with this anymore.
It's not natural science. Go to a friggin' computer science, social science, psychology science forum. We're talking about natural science here.
I get that, and I conceded that point, John. I conceded that point. We are talking about in this forum
what is your point
about
then?
natural science.
What is your point?
I'm just saying, hey, if I don't put gas in my car, it will not start. If I put gas in my car, it will start. There's cause and effect there. Is it a natural? It's a man-made device, but I can apply cause and effect to it. Right? Right?
Yeah. But what's the point? What are you saying? Yes.
Well,
nobody would disagree with that.
Okay, but John keeps saying that he's just dismissing that. He's dismissing that.
The problem occurs when you take something that has what Ebon describes as a close adherence to this empirical method, and at the end of that close adherence, you end up with a correlation or a probability. That's the problem. Because while that's great, it might be very useful to see those correlations, it doesn't prove the cause of an effect. It's just that simple. So yes, we're not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're not saying you can't logically deduce things. Far from it. We're just saying that when you use that terminology, computer science being a very a terrible culprit of this, you're just establishing correlations. You're doing trial and error. But to assert it's science makes it sound like you're empirically proving the cause of an effect.
But see, this is where we've had to do. You keep saying science, and I've said it several times. And if you're going to say, then say the natural science, because science is just about knowledge, pure and simple. Science is about, and that's the definition.
You're
of science.
equivocating now. Equivocation fallacy. We already went over this. Yes, science means knowledge. We're talking about natural science. This is the genre that we're talking about here. Stop equivocating.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Look, I would say it's methodologies. That would be the correct term to use. It's not science, not the scientific method. They try to use as much of the scientific method in that approach, and that's why it's called methodology. But there is a difference. Yes, there's the probability aspect. It's not empirical. I agree. Let's move on.
So we're all on the same page.
Well, yeah, but it's important that we understand what that page is and why that page is important. And it's important because when you have something that is empirical and does prove things, it's a useful assertion to strap the word science on to something that only gives you a probability or a statistical likelihood. And that's exactly what we have.
Right, so basically the only thing that has to happen is people just have to stop using the word science where it's no science. In other words, like Ebon just said, you can call it a methodology and leave it at that rather than attach the word science to it.
Yeah, because it's a useful method. So I'm a pill manufacturer and I do a case study with 400 sets of twins, and I establish with my case study that in most instances, giving this pill to one of the twins makes them stronger, for the sake of argument, and the likelihood is high. It's a 70% statistical likelihood. Then I go forth and pitch my pill, stating that science has been done, and this pill makes you stronger. Well, if you're to claim that that is just a close adherence as much as possible to the empirical method that proves things, well, that's not being stated. It's just science has been done. Well, why'd you call it science? Well, because we've tried as much as possible to stay close to the method that proves things. Look, we've got 10 variables, but we've controlled them all really well. So now I'm going to say science, because anybody listening to me assert it will understand that I mean I've proven that this makes people stronger. And it doesn't. You've just got a correlation that's been done by a case study giving you a correlation, as opposed to an empirical method that gives you a cause. These two things are totally different, but yet mixed up in the same pot. Like one is so close to the other that it's okay to go, oh, well, that's okay. It gives us a very close correlation. We've got a 99% statistical likelihood that it's correct. Well, it's still not proven a cause. But you strap the word on that says science, and suddenly everyone thinks you have.
Now, I understand. Hold on one second. I understand that correctly. Now, do you guys understand the same thing I just heard?
Yeah,
I think so. And that's why I was going to ask Nathan this, because I made a statement. I said, if I see a natural phenomenon, I see a child raised by wolves, and I can see the effect of that environment, that's a natural phenomenon. And Nathan was going to, I guess, say that, or say whether that was a natural phenomenon. Yes. Was I correct, Nathan, or did I misunderstand?
Yes, I did. I'd say, yeah, okay, fine. I'd give you that as a phenomenon. But you wouldn't really need to go forth and formulate a hypothesis and perform systematic experimentation to establish the cause of that effect, right? In that instance, would you not agree that given that you would experience general normalcy from children that are raised by people, and then you see one that comes out of a cave with wolves in it behaving like a wolf, you can make a logical deduction without performing any science based on what you've observed? I.e., if wolves raise the child, it'll be like a wolf, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get your point. I mean, I get that's a just observable phenomenon. That's, so you can assume the cause is being raised by wolves. I'm sorry, I'm trying to put her shoes on and she's deciding not to want me to let her.
That's okay.
But I could see, I can see what you're saying. I mean, it's just a natural observable phenomenon that you already know the cause of because you see the outcome. But I was saying, could you apply the scientific method to that event somehow?
But the problem comes in
actually
what
that's
I've
a good
just
point.
done.
So
what I've just done is used what sounded like a hypothesis as an explanation. So in order for it to be scientifically valid, yeah, you'd have to perform an experiment and you'd vary and manipulate wolves, right? It's slightly farcical, but it works for the purposes of the example. You'd have to actually validate or invalidate your presumed cause of the effect. In this case, the presumed cause is wolves raising a kid, as opposed to... Yeah. But I can just take the hypothesis, if wolves, then wolf-like behaviour, and just give it as an explanation, right? There's my explanation. It makes perfect sense. And I've not done a damn thing. I've not performed any experiments. So it's not an empirical explanation. The only trouble being that if you go forth to try and perform systematic experimentation, you might lose a few children to some hungry wolves. You with me? So you wouldn't necessarily want to validate that hypothesis to be able to say with certitude that you validated or invalidated your presumed cause of the effect. But the problem is that when somebody else takes something that's a bit less farcical, uses what they assert as a hypothesis, as an actual explanation, because there's no null, there's no zero difference asserted. There's just the alternative hypothesis asserted as though it's an explanation, and it might sound reasonable and logical, but it definitely isn't science. Definitely isn't empirical, more importantly.
So here's another thing that gets kind of muddy. For example, there are certain organizations that try to reintroduce animals that have been injured back into the wild, and they tag them and see how well they do. And so there's like a species of a bird. They took them when they're injured and try to reintroduce them into the wild, see how long they last, and they tracked them, and hey, all of them are dead. It's like, why aren't they surviving? And what they just tried to do more observations is, okay, we got these birds tracked. Let's see what's going on. See if we could video record them and see what's happening. Why they aren't surviving? Is it predators? Is it just location? What is it? And it's mostly just communications with other birds of their species. They just can't relate and survive in an environment and communicate with each other when predators go attacking them. And so they try different things. It's like, okay, maybe it's something like they just don't know. They're not growing up with the sounds of the similar birds chirping, so maybe they just can't communicate, so they don't get the warning signs from other birds of the same species. So they would do that, and they release them, and they go, hey, look, the birds aren't dying. It's like they're most likely living than dying. Like instead of 0% survival rate, it's 96%. But that 4% of the time they're not surviving, hey, it's just bad luck, maybe, right? So that can be a science where, yeah, it seems like it's very much empirical, but it's hard to know that because of the variability in nature. But that 4% could be attributed to just bad luck. It's just they got the warning signs from other birds. They just weren't fast enough. Whatever. Maybe they're injured. What made them injured in the first place hampered them from escaping. Things like that. So it's tough, but they can say for a very, very, very high probability of survival, the reason that they are not surviving in the wild was because they didn't hear other birds of the same species chirping, so they weren't able to communicate with other birds of the same species to warn each other. It makes sense. But
okay.
I mean,
do you want to know the problem? Do you want to know the problem with
ahead.
that? Once you've released the birds, they then enter an environment with infinite variables. Now, you could do that study 10 times, yeah, and find that every time you release the birds, let's say on the first 10 occasions, you vary everything except for bird sounds, yeah? So you vary the food, you vary the environment that they're in, you vary every single thing, and each time you do it, you formulate a full, what you claim is a hypothesis, scientifically valid, and then you stumble upon bird sounds, 10th attempt, right? And each time you've done it with 100 birds, and each time they've gone out and every one of them's died, right? This time you play bird sounds to them, yeah? Then you release them, and 95% survive, right? And you go, wow, that's amazing. Then you do it again, and get the same result. 95% survive, almost identical result, within margin of error. And you surmise at the end of it, you draw a conclusion that it's the bird song that sorted that out, right? And you go, wow, that's wonderful. I'll write up my paper, and you do it, and you figure it out, and you publish your paper, and you sell a few bird song tapes with proof based on science. About 10 years later, you find out that there was actually a massive turbine about 10 miles away, and every time you released the birds, they all flew through it and died. Yeah? And there was just some random thing that's nothing to do with your presumed cause or effect. It's one of the infinite variables that occurs after you've performed your quote-unquote experiment with your bird sounds and your bird seeds and your environment and your fluffy cushions. Do you see where I'm going? So at the end of it, you get a correlation. And it might be a 99% certitude in your correlation and still turn out to be completely incorrect.
And basically that right there is the Glober argument. Am I correct? Because they make these correlations, and even though they claim high probability, those variables can change at any time.
No, they don't even make correlations. They just declare. Most of the times they don't even observe anything. They just go to Wiki and they parrot whatever they're told. So they're not even doing corollary studies.
Yeah, you can't correlate a globe Earth. It either is or it isn't.
Right.
No,
it can't be a globe some of the time.
No, I'm talking about
Just repeat that, Eben. Just say that once more.
I'm talking about their... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Say that once more, Eben.
I mean, having a globe, whether Earth is a globe or not, it's 100% yes, it's a globe, or it's 0%, it's not. It can't be a globe 96% of the time.
Right. So
No,
how do you get around that? Hold on,
that's
Slick, hold on.
I'm sorry.
So if it's one or other, what do you think they must do in order to always have it come out tops on top, right? Always proving a globe. How do you achieve that if it's either one or the other, Eben? What must they do every single time?
Provide scientific evidence for it.
No. Beg the question. Automatically assume your outcome. Automatically start like Brenda did. If you've got a basketball rotating, now in that statement she's saying Earth is this basketball that's spherical and rotating. Well, that's begging the question. Automatically assuming the Earth is a sphere for the start of your example. So in other words, every single example of a globe Earth quote unquote proof will start with the assumption that you are on a globe to begin with. They must beg the question.
Now, I think I hear that because what Brenda said was, I observe the stars, therefore I declare a globe. Now, that's observe and declare, right?
Yep.
Sort of. That's affirming the consequent. So, if
no, I'm saying, but that's what she did. In other words, she's saying, I see the stars doing what they do, therefore I declare a globe. I mean, it sounds like that's what she was saying.
Well, yeah, but the way it's formulated is if the Earth is a globe, so that's if P, then insert bullshit here. That would be Q. In this example, stars rotating, right? So if the Earth is a sphere, I will observe this type of star rotation. Then they just reverse it. I observe this type of star rotation, therefore the Earth is a sphere. So it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. The only thing you have to add on to that is that the thing that they are affirming is assumed to begin with. So it's actually a begging the question, affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P then Q, Q therefore P, but if P, they assume P is real to begin with. So you've already got P begged to begin with. So if the Earth is a sphere, right, so we're automatically assuming we are on a sphere for this example. Okay, so we're on a sphere. So you're there already, right? That's the thing they're trying to prove.
Right.
Yep. Look, that's why it's good to use the scientific principle and just observation. When do they start observing that what they're on is a sphere? And we always want to start from there, but it never gets there.
Exactly. What's your observed phenomena? Exactly. What are you observing? What's occurring here? What do we need to science? What's the phenomenon that we are going to establish the cause of?
It's very clear.
Hey, I want to apologize to the rest of the panel here. I had some I haven't drank coffee in about 9 or 10 months, and I've been drinking coffee here for the past hour. You know, the real stuff, the leaded. I can feel the roots of my hair growing. So I want to apologize if I was over aggressive with any of you guys. Sorry about that.
How dare you, John?
No apology needed.
I've actually been on coffee as well.
Taking the hard stuff, are we? Big C.
It's having some gastrointestinal effects too.
Hey, right, that's where I'm going to round out the show. So with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the audience in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat and sharing this show. If you haven't, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this after show possible. If you need something to keep you entertained after this premiering stream has ended, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!